You spend your entire life inside your own mind, and yet most days you're not really living in reality. You're living in interpretations, projections, unfinished stories your thoughts write faster than you can question them. It's not your fault. The mind has always preferred drama over clarity. Drama feels urgent, clarity feels quiet, and quiet, for many people, feels uncomfortable. Imagine this. You walk into a Starbucks. The barista who usually greets you with a bright smile simply nods today. Just a nod, nothing more. And your mind, with all the confidence of a Hollywood screenwriter, whispers, "Great, she hates you. Perfect, you must have done something wrong. Or maybe you look terrible. Congratulations, you've ruined coffee for both of you." Meanwhile, the actual world around you gently sighs. She's just tired. This is the difference between reality and interpretation. And if you don't notice that gap, your mind will fill it with whatever fear it finds lying around. The simplest practice, drawn from the deeper logic behind adequatism, starts here. Separate what happened from what you added. The fact, she said hi. The story, everything else. And the story is optional. Let's go further. You open your email. Subject line, "Can we talk?" And suddenly it feels like the universe is collapsing. Your mind begins its familiar chant. This is it. I'm getting fired. They've discovered I'm a fraud. My career is over. Should I start packing? But in reality, nothing has happened yet. No meeting, no explanation, just 5 harmless words. When emotion arrives before information, your mind guesses, and it almost always guesses toward danger. It thinks it's protecting you. It's not. It's exhausting you. Here is another quiet tool. Remind yourself that emotion does not know the facts. Emotion is a pulse, not a prophecy. You can feel fear without assuming disaster. You can feel tension without building a story around it. Now imagine you're stuck in LA traffic. A car behind you honks. Your mind doesn't miss a beat. Yep, I'm the problem. I'm too slow. Everyone hates me. Perfect. But maybe the driver just bumped the horn, or dropped their phone, or is simply having a worse day than you are. A honk is just a sound. The rest is your imagination doing improv theater. And here's where another principle comes alive. Respond in proportion, not in panic. If the situation is small, your reaction can be small. Not everything needs the full emotional soundtrack your mind is ready to provide. Most moments don't. Let's go deeper. You walk into your home and your partner seems distant, quiet. Your mind tightens instantly. They're mad. I did something. A fight is coming. Something's wrong. And then you ask, "Are you okay?" And they say, "Yeah, just tired." That's it, tired. Not secretly resentful, not plotting your emotional destruction, just tired. But notice how quickly your mind made their mood about you. That habit is called personalization, the belief that other people's emotions are reflections of your worth. They're not. People live complex inner lives you know nothing about. And your job is not to interpret their every silence. Your job is to observe your own reaction to it. That is the quiet art of boundaries. Not walls, not distance, just the internal sentence, "This isn't mine to carry." Now picture a different moment. You're on a date. Things seem fine, good even. But suddenly the other person becomes quieter, a little reserved. Your mind jumps immediately. They're bored. I'm failing. It's over. But is that true? Or is it just your fear looking for confirmation that you're not enough? Here is where clarity enters. Separate the moment into 2 layers. What happened? A pause. What you assumed? Everything else. The mind hates silence because silence creates space, and space invites uncertainty. But uncertainty isn't danger. It's simply unknown. If you can sit inside the unknown without filling it with fear, you're already ahead of most people. Let's talk about perfectionism. You start a project. Halfway through, the voice appears. Not good enough. Fix it. So you fix it. Then fix it again. Then again. And somewhere between the fourth and seventh revision, you forget why you even started. Am I improving the work, or am I trying to calm my anxiety? If the answer is anxiety, then you're not creating. You're self-soothing through control. That's why you feel exhausted. True clarity moves differently. It does enough, not everything. Enough is honest. Everything is fear. Now imagine you're sitting in a restaurant and someone laughs behind you. Your mind quickly spins the wheel of insecurity. It's me, obviously. But laughter is just laughter. The world is not monitoring your existence nearly as closely as your fears think it is. Here is a powerful sentence to use. I don't know what it means. It's neutral, it's honest, and it prevents your mind from leaping into conclusions that were never yours to make. Sometimes your strongest reactions aren't reactions to the present moment at all. They're echoes. Old pain disguised as new urgency. A small comment triggers a big response. A small inconvenience unlocks a large emotion. And if you don't notice this, you will spend your life fighting battles that don't exist. The real question is this emotion about now or about something I've carried for years? If it's the past, the solution isn't reacting, it's healing. And when you begin to notice all these things, the stories, the projections, the echoes of old fear, you suddenly see the space between what happens and what you feel. A tiny space. But that space is everything. That is where choice lives. That is where peace begins. That is the birthplace of power. And the more clearly you see that space, the more you understand that you never needed to wrestle with every thought that appears in your mind. You were never meant to believe every story it tells. The mind is loud, but loudness is not truth. Truth is quieter. It arrives when you stop forcing answers and start observing what is actually in front of you. Now think about how often you react not to the moment, but to your imagination of the moment. Someone speaks sharply to you at work, and before you even process the tone, the mind says, "It's because of you. You did something wrong." But what if their sharpness has nothing to do with you? What if they slept poorly, or received bad news, or spilled coffee on themselves 5 minutes before? The world does not orbit around your insecurities. People's moods are not evaluations of your worth. One of the deepest skills you can learn, and one that aligns with the quiet skeleton of adequatism, is knowing what belongs to you and what doesn't. If someone is angry, that doesn't automatically make you responsible. If someone withdraws, that doesn't automatically make you guilty. You don't need to go through life absorbing every emotion you witness. You are not a sponge. You are not a storage unit for other people's storms. You are responsible for your own clarity, not for decoding every cloud in someone else's sky. And when you begin to internalize this, something shifts. The world becomes lighter. You no longer collapse under the weight of assumptions you never needed to carry. Another moment, you're getting ready to send a message, and something inside you hesitates. A voice whispers, "Don't. You'll annoy them. They won't want to hear from you." But that voice is not wisdom. It's fear wearing a mask that looks like caution. Fear often imitates logic. But logic without evidence is just fear with better vocabulary. Ask yourself this: do I have facts, or do I have predictions dressed as facts? If the answer is predictions, breathe. Predictions are not destiny. The mind often tries to prepare you for pain by convincing you that pain is inevitable, but preparation without accuracy is just prolonged suffering. What you need is neither paranoia nor blind optimism, just honesty. Radical, simple honesty. I don't know how they'll respond. That sentence alone has saved countless people from unnecessary emotional spirals. It's not weakness to admit uncertainty, it's intelligence. It's how you stay in reality instead of drowning in what-if worlds that never existed. Now, imagine a different scene. You're in the middle of a conversation and suddenly someone exclaims, "We need to talk later." And your mind, dramatic as ever, responds with, "Fantastic, they're upset. I messed up. I should start panicking right now. But what if we need to talk just means I remembered something important? What if it means I want to share an idea? Somewhere along the way, your mind learned to treat ambiguity as threat. But ambiguity is neutral. Uncertainty is neutral. Silence is neutral. You assign meaning to them, and you can assign different meanings.
This is where internal equilibrium appears, not as a theory, but as a lived experience. You learn to regulate yourself before you interpret the world. If your mind is storming, the world will look stormy no matter how peaceful it truly is. But when your inner state aligns, quietly, steadily, the world becomes readable. Not perfect, not predictable, but readable. And that alone gives you immense strength.
Let's talk about impulse. There are moments when someone says something irritating or dismissive or simply stupid, and your entire nervous system lights up with the desire to respond instantly. A sharp reply, a defensive comment, a verbal punch. The impulse feels like strength, but it's not. It's momentum. Momentum borrowed from old wounds, old frustrations, old habits of proving yourself. Real strength is the pause, that breath between emotion and action, that subtle shift from I want to react to what response is actually useful here. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing, just long enough for the impulse to lose its grip. And then, in that stillness, you choose with clarity rather than ego. You'd be amazed how many conflicts would never be born if people mastered a 2-second pause. Another subtle but powerful practice appears when you stop confusing discomfort with danger. The mind often says, this conversation feels uncomfortable, something is wrong. But discomfort is not a warning sign, it's a growth sign. Uncomfortable conversations build stronger relationships. Honest questions build deeper understanding. Saying no when you need to, setting boundaries when necessary, these things feel uncomfortable, but they create stability, not chaos. Boundaries are not rejection, they are navigation. They help you move through relationships without losing yourself. Now consider how often your mind asks you to control what you cannot. Other people's reactions, their thoughts, their moods, their timing, their emotional processing, none of this is yours to control. But the mind hates powerlessness, so it pretends it has influence where it doesn't. It creates strategies, fantasies, rehearsed speeches, imaginary arguments. It wastes your energy on simulations that have zero impact on reality. There is a silent principle behind Adequatism that fits perfectly here. Act only where action matters. Respond only where response changes something. Let go where your control is an illusion. And suddenly, life becomes lighter, not because the world changed, but because you stopped fighting unwinnable battles inside your own head. Now look at your day from a distance. How many times did you misinterpret silence? How many times did you react to past pain instead of the present moment? How many times did you personalize someone else's mood? How many times did you assume catastrophe? And how many of those moments were actually real? This is not about blaming yourself. This is about finally understanding yourself. Because underneath the noise of your thoughts, underneath the reflexes, underneath the rehearsed fears, you are capable of clarity. And clarity is not dramatic. Clarity is not loud. Clarity does not create panic where none is needed. It simply reveals what is true and frees you from the weight of everything that isn't. This is where harmony enters. Not a mystical state, not perfection, not endless peace. Harmony is simply you moving through the world without adding unnecessary chaos to it. You respond with the right amount of energy, not the most. You acknowledge emotions without letting them rewrite reality. You treat others with respect without abandoning yourself. You move with intention instead of impulse. And slowly, quietly, your life stops feeling like a battlefield and starts feeling like something else entirely. Something calmer, clearer, lighter. Not because everything around you changed, but because you did. Because you started seeing. because you finally understood that the loudest voice in your mind is not always the most accurate one. And the moment you stop living in imagined stories and start living in reality, you discover a truth most people never reach. Reality is almost always kinder than your fears. And you, once you stop fighting shadows, are stronger, steadier, and far more capable than your anxious thoughts ever allowed you to believe.